Ladies and gentlemen, the moment that you've all been waiting for, general contractors. How to find them, how to vet them, what to do, why you need to do it. We're going to dive deep into this. This can really make or break a deal, so let's dive in. How to find general contractors. I mean, obviously you start with your sphere of influence. If that's the best approach, people that have worked with a contractor before, people that have a good experience with a contractor before, people that you trust that worked with a general contractor before, reach out to them, get in touch with them, get to know them. Some general contractors don't work with investors or haven't worked with investors. You want to be wary of that because they're typically charging retail buyers or retail clients a little bit more because they get more dollar value. But one thing that they lack is that consistency in the off season. So that's something that you guys can provide and help offset for them. Real estate agents are a really good resource. Brokers, fantastic resource. Driving for contractors, kind of like driving for dollars, but driving for contractors. You're driving down the road, you see a dumpster, a bunch of stuff in it. You see somebody working on a roof. Pull over, stop by, introduce yourself, let them know who you are, let them know what you do, and let them know that you're in the business of buying a lot of real estate and you look to provide value by providing volume to these general contractors. All right, start the relationship, and then you can vet from there. You can go on the MLS and look up, recently flipped properties. Call the real estate agent and say, introduce yourself. One, you're going to be able to make a new contact and talk to a real estate agent that works with investors, and you can be another one to add to their list. A lot of times they get off-market deals that you can potentially, it could potentially lead to deal flow for you. But also, ask them about the general contractor that did the work, what the quality was like, if they have their phone number, if they'd be open to sharing their phone number. You're in the business of flipping, would love to work with them further in terms of acquisitions and selling the property and having them represent you as their agent. They would love to work with you, obviously, if they're already working with investors. So it's a great way to find real estate agents, but also a great way to find general contractors. You can go to planning and zoning hearings. A lot of times your local municipality will have planning and zoning meetups or meetings to let them know about updated rules and regulations that are changing or upcoming projects that may be ongoing. Sometimes residents will go to complain about certain zoning ordinances or certain projects that are up and coming that are going to cause, noise violations. So it's a good spot to meet builders and general contractors at these planning and zoning meetups. Real estate meetups and networking events. Obviously, you're going to deal with a lot of real estate agents there, real estate investors, wholesalers, and also general contractors. If these general contractors are going to local real estate meetups, the likelihood of that they work with investors is very, very high. Get the business cards, schedule calls, schedule walkthroughs, talk to these guys, right? This is how you build the pipeline. This is how you meet some trustworthy, reliable contractors, okay? Let's continue on to the next slide. All right, guys, once you've done the due diligence of calling contractors, sphere of influence, networking groups, planning and zoning meetings, driving for contractors, once you do all of this and you get 2 or 3 that you really, really like, ask them to send you before and after pictures of their most recent projects within the past 3 to 6 months, right? If they're not doing any work in the past 3 to 6 months, the likelihood of that you want to work with them is probably a little bit lower because they're not experienced, they don't have a big clientele, and it's a little bit risky dealing with contractors that aren't continuously working. One, they probably can't hold the crew, so the projected turnaround time is very slow. But 2, maybe they pissed up some people off. Maybe they don't have a good relationship or a good name behind them because they burnt bridges. Not always, not all the cases, but I've seen it more than not where contractors don't have a lot of work simply because they've been around for a while and they pissed a lot of people off and burned a lot of bridges, and you don't want to work with them. Now there are other contractors that are new in the business. They've been doing this for a while, but they really wanted to double down and take that leap of faith. We've personally dealt with a contractor. We still work with him to this day. There's actually 2 of them that are our best contractors, and younger guys. They just started their business. They're looking to branch out. We still vetted them. We still walked their properties. We still made sure they're licensed and insured. But they've been very, very great working with. They communicate well, and they want to earn your business, so they're willing to work with you. So don't write them off right away. Okay. Understand the size of their crew. See how many projects they can handle at one time. See if they sub properties out. And we'll dive into this on the next slide. But if they're subbing any of the scope of work out, what is it? How many people they have on their crew is going to directly impact how fast they can turn a property around. Proof of insurance, proof of license, your HIC or home improvement contractor license. I can get it, you can get it, anybody can get it. You just got to apply on the state of Connecticut website. Once you do that, they'll issue a license. That's very easy to get. If they don't have that, I wouldn't even bother. Ask if they're bonded. It's not necessarily mandatory, but a lot of municipalities and cities like to have contractors bonded, especially if you're pulling permits. They like to see that contractors are bonded. So it's definitely a question that you want to ask, and you want to make sure either, if they are, great. If they're not, would they be open to, right? Because you're doing a lot of projects, you're doing a lot of properties. You want to make sure that you can work with these general contractors just in case the city is requiring them to be bonded. You want to make sure that they're open to becoming bonded, okay? All right, guys, so as you're vetting contractors, see if they work with investors. Again, I mentioned this earlier. If they don't work with investors or have never worked with investors before, they're conditioned to overcharging or to charging just higher for your retail consumers. It's a volume game. If you give them more volume, as investors give contractors more volume, the likelihood or the understanding and expectation that they give you a discount on what they're charging should be there. So make sure that those expectations are set, and make sure that they have some experience. If they don't, okay, and you want to take a risk, they might do really good work, but they might charge you a lot. So just find that balance and set the expectations up front with them. Okay. Again, how many projects have they completed in the past 3 months? If they're busy, that's probably good. A lot of people like working with them. They do good work. They're reliable. They communicate well. Definitely pay close attention to their scope of work and like what they've been doing for the past 3 months. Something to pay close attention to. Okay. What's an expected time frame for a full interior remodel of a 3-bed, 2-bath Cape Cod? They're going to say, well, it depends if the roof interior portion of the joists are put together accordingly, and I need to sister hook the joists together. Just tell them to shut up. And what would it be? A kitchen, 2 bathrooms, paint, sand and stain, some replace the outlets, replace the light switches, doing some recessed lights. What's the expected turnaround time? Is it 2 months? Is it 3 months? Is it 1 month? They'll ask you if you're going to pull permits. Tell them, if we do pull permits, what's the turnaround time? Well, it depends on the city, but it could take anywhere from 2 to 3 months. Okay, cool. Thank you for relaying that information. This is important for you because if you're projecting a whole time to be 4 months and they're telling you that they can do a 1,500 square foot Cape Cod 3-bed, 2-bath, but it'll take them 4 months to complete the project, well, now you have to list it and expect to hold it an extra 60 days, right, for the property to sell. So now that 4 month should be extended to 6 months, increases your hold time, which increases your holding costs, which diminishes returns if you don't plan accordingly within your underwriting spreadsheet. Okay? Okay, important one. Are they willing to work with you when the inspection comes back from buyers, right? So when buyers do an inspection always has things come up. Even if it's a new build, they'll have things come up. That's just the reality of it. Inspectors and contractors bump heads sometimes because egos can do that normally. Make sure that they're okay working with you. Especially if they do the work, right? Hey, if you do the work for the property and a property inspection comes back and there's some dings that I'm getting, will you come back and do the work and make sure that I can close on this property so I can repeat the business and continue to buy more so I can give you more work, right? They're probably going to say yes, right? But just, you don't want to assume, right? One of the laws in the 4 agreements is never assume. Set the expectations and communicate this. Over communicate on everything, guys. Okay, very, very important, especially with your general contractor. Do they offer discount on volume and consistent work? If they say no, okay, still get quotes from them. I mean, start the relationship. There's always wiggle room, right? Especially if they want to work with you. They want, in the slow months and you're giving them work, like they'll see that value and they'll appreciate that value and they should be able to give you a discount, okay? Understand their capacity for scope of work. Hey, if I had a full interior remodel, I needed to replace HVAC, an entire system, including ductwork, including the furnace, putting an AC and condenser unit in, replacing the roof, doing the siding, and I need to sister joist some of the beams going across the property. Can you do that? What type of scope of work are you confident that you can do? Are you afraid of structural problems? Can you replace load-bearing walls? Do you have an engineer that can pull that can run an analysis on what size of a load-bearing beam I need and what type of material I need for it? If I'm upgrading to propane, do you have the resources to be able to allow me to pull permits and upgrade the property to propane heat? Understand these things because it can create bottlenecks down the line if you don't understand it, okay? Be very, very thorough and detail-oriented when you're working with contractors. Understand the payment expectations. A lot of times we pay 20 to 30% up front. They're demoing, they're doing rough electric, rough plumbing. It's not too costly for them. It's more labor versus material. Obviously, they'll have to pay for a dumpster. A dumpster's $500 per dumpster. Maybe they go through two, so like $1,000. But that's why we pay usually 20 to 30% up front. Second draw is usually 30 to 40% up front. They're doing duct work. They're doing a lot of these expensive items that they need to knock off. And then the remainder once the project's complete. I put 20 to 30% or 30 to 40% for the first and second draw strategically, because if it's a heavier lift, it's a heavier project, and they communicate, hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z up front. It's going to cost a little bit more up front. Are you willing to work with me? I'll work with them. I have a relationship with them, so maybe if you're starting with a new contractor, tread lightly and say, hey, instead of 30%, I'm recommending 20%. Can we do 25%? Are you okay with that? I'm sure they'll be happy to work with you there. Okay. And before you give a commitment to them, minimum, guys, of 2 projects. Right. The reason being is because we got burned $37,000 from a contractor on our second flip. Right. He demoed the property and that's it. We sat on it for 6 months before we made a pivot. We were paying $4,000 in interest a month. So 4 times 6, $24,000 plus $37,000. I don't know the math on that, but that's a lot of fucking money. Wasn't fun paying. So you want to make sure that 2 projects that you walk, because that contractor, I walked one of his projects and it looked incredible. If had I walked another project, we probably could have avoided these mistakes. We might have avoided these mistakes, right? It's not guaranteed, but you want to do everything in your power so that can mitigate your likelihood or chances of getting a contractor that's really gonna F you over, if you know what I mean. Get 2 or 3 referrals. Call those referrals. See if you can get 2 investors and another retail consumer that they've worked with. Find out about the experience. Did they set the expectations? What the quality of the work was? What was the cost associated with the quality of work? What's the scope of work that they did in your project? How fast did they complete the project? Did they communicate really well with you? Did they move the project around? Were people leaving the doors open? Were people leaving a mess? Did they clean up after themselves? Very, very thorough when you're talking to these referrals, just to make sure that you're not walking into a headache and dealing with a headache when you do buy a property. All right? And call every one of them. It's important. Trust.